know Kamala Harris, I think she said something wilder, but Kamala Harris also championed it as well.
And that was the two presidential candidates we had running for the Democratic Party. They celebrated that shit.
Or I'll follow up. If there are BLM protesters who were put in prison and are still there because of the actions that they undertook, the actions that they undertook, and they were prosecuted far more so than somebody who was accused of carjacking or someone who was accused of a robbery that was not politically related, I would also support them being released from prison, because if they were treated unfairly relative to the standard of the law, to me, that is an injustice. We have to treat like crimes in a like manner, regardless of race, gender, politics, ethnicity, or anything else. Okay. If we're not doing that, then I think we have a banana kangaroo republic. And to me, that is what to a large extent, Washington, D.C. justice has become, justice in quotation marks.
Okay. Listen,
I just don't think you have any evidence that people that attack cops were let off easy. Again, there might be other people. There might have been single cases.
Here's what we should do. We should all agree.
Of a man that tased a cop.
The point. People are saying that the people from the Summer of Love, the BLM riots, were bonded out. J6ers didn't get that opportunity. They were in federal prison until they were pardoned by Trump in this past week. Locked up, nowhere to go, in a cell, 23-1, because of being at the freaking Capitol. Two different things.
Yeah, I don't think anyone.
And he's being let off.
I agree. Listen, Tim, I agree with you. We're in a rare place today. I'm finding myself nodding away to a lot of what you're saying. I just think that J.D. Vance was right. And if I was Donald Trump, I would not have pardoned the ones who attacked police officers, because it goes against everything Trump believes about the police and law and order and all the rest of it. I think it's kind of disrespectful to the police.
He's not one to listen to.
It's a brave new world, Piers. We should have tea after this.
I'll get you tea. It has to be Yorkshire Gold, just for the record. And you need 5 bags.
Draw the line at tea.
5 bags in a pot, and you have to put the milk in the cup first, otherwise it doesn't work. I want to bring in Riley Gaines now to join the panel. Host, of course, of Games for Girls on Outkick. And Riley, great to see you back on Uncensored. Always good to have you. I want to start by playing a clip of this extraordinary moment in the Washington National Cathedral yesterday, where Bishop Marianne Edgar Buddy, who was officiating, decided to suddenly turn it into a political rally. Let's take a listen.
In the name of our God, I ask you to have mercy upon the people in our country who are scared now. There are gay, lesbian, and transgender children in Democratic, Republican, and independent families, some who fear for their lives.
Well, Trump has responded. He took a while. His first response was didn't really say very much when he was asked by the media. And then he said the so-called bishop who spoke at the National Prayer Service on Tuesday morning was a radical left hardline Trump hater. She brought her church into the world of politics in a very ungracious way. She was nasty in tone and not compelling or smart. She failed to mention the large number of illegal migrants that came into our country and killed people. Many were deposited from jails and mental institutions. It's a giant crime wave that's taking part in the USA. Apart from her inappropriate statements, the service was a very boring and uninspiring one. She's not very good at her job. She and her church owe the public an apology. So I would say a fairly predictable response from President Trump, Riley. But I've got to say, I was pretty staggered that at such a moment when you got a new president, whoever it is, for the bishop to suddenly launch into what was very clearly a pretty partisan political speech, which bore very little relation to the fact that all Trump had said was there are two genders, male and female. That's it. That doesn't seem to me to be leading directly to young kids all over America fearing for their lives, unless I missed something.
No. And before I even answer that, Trump put out that tweet at about midnight. So the 12 a.m. mean tweets are back in full effect.
You know what's so funny, though, about this whole Bishop situation? Nobody's, Trump's not actually mad about it. Neither is really JD. Honestly, the people who are mad about it are the Christians.
Really?
Yeah, his Christian supporters. Let's be real, the Republican Party has a very high Christian
base.
Yeah. So
I mean, some of the views are similar. They overlap really at a certain point.
Not to be a jackass, but let's go ahead and bring in my man Alan Super Chat from what he said. He's like, yo, women should play a supportive role and a nurturing role. Now,
Hey, did you give him one? Because he deserves one.
So if the Bible says that, and I mean, I wonder how women are interpreting that into taking a leadership role. Like, but then again, I also made the argument, okay, so a guy can be the manager, so can a woman be the assistant manager? So if a guy can be, and I guess I don't really know the hierarchy of the bishop to honestly know, yo, is that really that high of a position
in the church?
Yeah.
I wouldn't be able to tell you. I think that's like a Catholic church hierarchy.
Yeah, exactly. I wouldn't be able to tell you that either.
Not familiar.
I'll look it up though.
I know. Yeah, when I first saw this video, I saw it in the same format that you just showed. It looked like a stitch almost, like one side and one side, and I thought it was a skit until I realized, of course, that it wasn't.
Okay.
As you mentioned, Trump's EO that he signed, which I would imagine as this is why this bishop went into this parade in the way that she did. It merely just defined male and female and indicated those are the only two sexes that exist. I would love to.
The bishop's like 3 steps down from a pope, so we're talking about it's pope,
cardinal, archbishop, then bishop. Right under him is a priest. Right under that is a deacon, and at the bottom is the laity.
Dang, she's above a
She's about
priest?
4 spots up, 3 to 4 spots up, right below the archbishop.
Hold on. No, it's so crazy. Guys lose, like Christians lose their shit over women. A priest, a woman priest.
Bro, I've seen black churches lose their shit over black female deacons.
Bro, so for there to be a bishop, oh yeah, okay, I see why the Christians are so mad. I'm like, whoa. Yeah, bro, they get mad at deacons, they get mad at priests. Y'all taking it too far. Next
it's like they keep going,
bro. Next, we're gonna have a female archbishop. It's like, oh, now y'all really gonna set them off.
They scaling it up to the point where we might damn near have a female cardinal or pope in the next 15 years.
Oh shit.
Like, bro.
Well, that ain't I ain't Catholic, so good luck with that, my Catholic brethren. Good luck with that.
So I wish I
ask this bishop, okay, if there are more than what are they? I know you've had Harry Sisson on this show. I love that clip of you peers asking him, what are that you say there are more than 2 genders. Right. What are the other genders? And of course, there's never an answer. So it's wild to me that we live in this time where we have to applaud such decisive and executive action. Truthfully, I don't want to, because it's like we're applauding someone for saying that the sky is blue. But nonetheless, that is the point of decay that we have reached as a society. So it's a big victory, and it's certainly worth celebrating. And I think this female bishop is just your classic progressive pastor, quick to speak of God's grace, but hesitant to condemn sin. And so preaching half of the truth isn't preaching the gospel at all.
Yeah, I mean, Dave Smith, I just found it extraordinary that she went to go to DEFCON 3. There are children all over America fearing for their lives simply because Donald Trump said there's male and female out there. That's it. That's how we're now going to deal with this issue. That's how people are going to be referred to. How does that lead? Where's the correlation to a load of American kids terrified for their lives?
Well, I mean, look, and I just think this represents so much of what we've had to deal with insane wokeism over the last decade at least, and what has just been rejected by the American people. And you nailed it, Pierce, right? It's that this is clearly a political speech. This is how the woke do it, right? It's clearly a political speech, but you present it as if you're transcending above politics, and it's just about morality, but obviously it's not. And look, the 2 major political issues that she was hitting on, number one, I mean, I completely agree with Riley on this. And if humanity survives for another 50 years, when historians write books about this time period, it will just be about the mass psychosis and how madness just swept, culture. And the stuff is just it's so ridiculous. And again, like the example of you asking that kid how many genders there are. Nobody can answer the most simple questions when it comes to the trans thing. Like the most basic one of why can't I identify as a horse?
Yeah.
If objective biology doesn't exist anymore.
No, I've actually been on this. I identified on International Women's Day.
You can.
Several years ago, I identified
as a
Dave. Well, I can go better. I can go better. I identified as a.
Can I also? Okay.
Well, Dave, the point I was going to make was on International Women's Day a couple of years ago.
It's a free country.
I identified on the show as a black lesbian because, frankly, if self-identity is limitless, why can't I?
Exactly, Pierce. And let me just, by the way, to your point of your response of like, I can identify as a horse. Yes, okay, I can. And the correct reaction to that should be for everyone else to, you're an insane person.
But you're not a horse.
And you're also a person, a human being, not a
just
horse.
for the record,
but anyway, and then with the whole this whole like weaponized empathy about immigration. I mean, look, Pierce, I'm sure you've seen some of the most recent polls. Americans agree by super majorities that they reject the de facto open borders of the Biden administration. And so to make this political speech while the guy, which is against the politics of the guy who just got elected, and also against what has been wokeism and open borders have been rejected by super majorities of the American people. And so to make this speech in this moment was just totally inappropriate. And just, I don't know, there's something about it that I find disgusting. This thing where you just hide behind like, there are people who are afraid and the trans kids are afraid. Yeah, you know what? There are other people who are afraid that these progressive maniacs are going to propagandize their children more with this gender nonsense. And I'm a little bit more concerned for those people. So we had an election. We've had national debates about this. That stuff has been rejected again by super majorities of the American people.
It has. Ali, what are your thoughts on this? I really did think it was hit completely the wrong mark.
Yeah, my man.
Yeah, she may feel all these things, but to just start, I mean, it seemed to me the biggest problem the Democrats had in the last 4 years,
And shout out Fox Chase, $2. Where are all the super chats? He asking a good question, guys. Go ahead and support the stream, man. If you like what you're seeing, keep it going. Go ahead and queue up what do we got? Call-in show and conspiracy hour. Once we hit our goal, just super chat into the stream, guys, to help us hit it.
Oh God, we got 43 super chats until we go ahead and run both of them.
Culminating in the terrible beating they got in the election was that they kept scolding the American people, constant scolding, culminating in Barack Obama scolding other Black Americans. If you don't vote for Kamala because she's Black, effectively, then there's, you're betraying Black people. Is this constant, self-righteous, high moral scolding? And they took a terrible drubbing in the election. Trump's back with a bang. And rather than be clever and move on and evolve as a party and work out how to find the next Bill Clinton or someone like it who can actually take this head on and be a proper opponent, it seemed to me they've learned nothing. You say you're a Democrat now. Did you enjoy what that bishop was saying? Or did you not think like I did? Wow, have you not got the memo that people are fed up with this stuff?
Okay, let me start off by saying the slippery slope argument is not a real argument of, oh, people are going to start identifying as horses. That's
not the argument I made.
The gay marriage era. That is what you said. The gay marriage era where people said people were going to start marrying their pets. It's ridiculous.
It's a logical. Listen, it's not, again, just to not strawman me. I'm making a logical analogy. I'm not equating the two things. And I'm not saying that transgenderism will lead to people identifying as a horse. The point is to attack the logic. What's wrong with me saying I'm a horse? You now have to respect my identity as a horse. What's wrong with it is that objective reality exists.
Not a horse. Yeah,
exactly.
The point is the point is, Ali, limitless self-identity means that anyone anywhere can identify as whatever they like. And the reason it matters is that this goes right to the heart of the trans debate, say in women's sport. I want trans people to have the same rights to equality and fairness as everybody else on this panel, including me, right? What I don't want is women's rights being trashed in the process. And when you allow people who are born biological male with all the advantage in terms of power and strength and speed and so on, when you allow them to simply put their hand up and say, I'm now a woman and I want to compete against women in women's sport, and then they start performing immeasurably better comparative to how they were performing against other biological men, then you realize the problem. And this is why the Democrats, one of the reasons they lost. That last ad that Trump did, Kamala's for they, them, Donald Trump's for you. One of the most effective ads in modern times. There's a reason, because most people actually went, yeah, he's got a point. We're fed up with this crap. So did you, honestly, Ali, when you heard that bishop, did you think, great, really needed to be said? Or did you slightly wince and went, we haven't got the right memo here?
No, I really respected what she said, actually. And I think she has a lot more guts than a lot of politicians do. Not many people get to sit and talk to the...
Like, I ain't gonna lie to it. And that was... We always just say that's what sunk the Democratic Party was this whole trans women in sports. Like, y'all cannot sit here and say that you're for women, you're the party for women when you're taking opportunity away from women. Literally. And then you're also putting women in danger with it as well. I mean, it's okay to accept who trans people are, accept them like for what they want to be, but to allow them to walk over women's safe spaces or walk over women's rights and opportunities is wild.
Completely disrespectful to women and their actual struggle and plight.
And I'm gonna be real with you, some of these Democrats were supporting it. They say it wasn't a big deal, but I'm like, yo, it's kind of crazy. Something that's a big deal to women. Y'all say y'all champion women, y'all telling women in their face that, oh, it's not a big deal.
I was gonna say these are the same women that stand up for feminism and all women's rights, but they low-key let men who are cosplaying as women come in and detract from the movement.
Man, steal the show.
Oh shit! Oh shit! The vice president, the president, and their families face to face like that. And so she could have easily just, put her head down and complied. And I think they needed to hear what she said, whether they wanted to or not. They clearly didn't. But I truly believe it was important for them to hear that. And it shows just how truly cruel, callous, and anti-Christian that these people actually are. And another point is that trans people have existed since the beginning of time. They will exist, they'll always exist. The Republican Party's current position is that there are only two genders and trans people don't exist, or it's made up. And that's just not true. There are a lot of transgender kids that genuinely are scared. If you haven't met one, just say that. But I have met one, I've met many, and I have transgender friends, and they are scared because there's a target on their back by this incoming administration. And I understand the Republican Party's concern about men and women's sports. That makes it sound very scary and perhaps dangerous, but I think there is a common sense solution to having inclusivity and not isolating transgender kids from their friends or sports that they want to play in high school that aren't even at the competitive level, because we simply think that they just don't belong. And there is a common sense solution.
Why can't they just compete against their biological sex like everybody else has to? I mean, let me bring in Clay Travis quickly on this, because it's a big issue, this. I just felt like, wow, here we got Miss Bishop, just didn't get the stop scolding everyone memo and just sounded ridiculous.
Yeah, and I give credit to Riley, and I think Outkick has really been outspoken on this, but when she had to swim against a grown-ass man in the NCAA championships, and everybody saw it for what it was, a complete and total farce, I thought that a lot more people would, in the political arena, say this is ridiculous. But Democrats somehow have painted themselves into a corner that they just had a bill that all it said was, if you get taxpayer funding, you should compete against the gender on your birth certificate. Pierce, 2 Democrats in the entire House signed on for that bill. Every Republican. Now, we are winning on this issue because it is an issue of common sense, which I think doesn't even really have a strong political association in the real world. According to the New York Times, 65% of Democrats don't think that dudes pretending to be women should be able to compete in women's sports. 94% of Republicans, 80% of the population at large.
But the way the Democrats try to spin it during the election, it made it seem like every Democrat was okay with this.
Just about.
They try to make it some about this is the Democratic identity.
That was the national or the general consensus of the party.
And to relate it to the Republicans, almost like how being pro-Israel was part of the Republican identity.
Yeah, like every Republican is as full Zionist.
Yeah.
Just reference that ad.
Unfair assertion.
You know who it performed remarkably well with? It ran in every football game that I watched. Black men, Hispanic men, white moms, all of them watched it and said, yeah, this is ridiculous. And let me hit you with identity politics, Pierce, because you said you can be anything. I actually want to push back, and I think it kind of goes to how broken Democrat identity politic beliefs are. Do you remember Rachel Dolezal, the woman out in Spokane, Washington, who was the head of the NAACP, said she was a black woman? They ended her. They canceled her. I think she's on OnlyFans now. I don't know who's the market there for fake black women, but maybe she's making a living. I hope she is. I'm for capitalism. But think about this. Democrats now, as party orthodoxy, believe if you claim to be a different race, you are racist, cultural appropriator. It's unacceptable. If you claim to be a different sex, everyone has to believe it. and you're a hero and courageous, and there are poor young kids that are suffering.
Well, Clay, that's a very,
was for, he thought he was a Jedi.
Yeah, look,
we didn't
that's
let
a great
him actually
point.
go to Jedi school.
Yeah, well, look, that's a great point. But B, people like J.K. Rowling, the Harry Potter author who put her head over the parapet, they got gunned down in the most vicious, appalling manner. Death threats by the thousand, people trying to cancel her, ruin her, shame her, whatever, just for standing up to protect women's rights. I never saw a single transphobic thing she ever said, but she was branded the biggest transphobe in the world. And it was that kind of ridiculous retribution against people who tried to stand up for common sense. Tim Miller, just finally, you on this story. It's such a vote loser, this whole issue. And it's not about being transphobic. You can be supportive of trans rights, as I've always been, but also understand this is just wrong. Can we not all agree? Can the Democrats not just agree, just not to go down this road again?
Well, I think that some of the Democratic policies around this are not smart. But I think that some of the way that this is talked about, I don't appreciate, Clay, like talking about dudes pretending to be women. I don't know. If you actually say you respect trans people, but you just want a level playing field, then you don't have to be a dick about it.
I mean, let's be real. It's not being a dick about it. It's honestly being real. We're being real with you. Yo, yes, you're cosplaying as a female. I'm sorry. Yes, you're not an actual female. You're cosplaying, putting a wig on. So you trying to affirm or trying to say that you're an actual female, you want that on your driver license, it's crazy. It's crazy. And when you
can't be mad at the rest of society for not respecting you as such. We're gonna look at you as your biological gender. If I see an Adam's apple, I'm sorry, bro, sir, man.
And can we add this to the queue? Black conservative perspective. Trump destroy woke Los Angeles mayor. Hey, let's go.
Right, sounds good. Appreciate that.
And also, if you say that you respect trans people's rights, the other EO that Trump is planning is regarding trans soldiers in the military. So again, I don't understand how you can say, "Oh, I'm for trans rights. We don't like, the pronoun thing. We don't like the trans sports thing."
Say he doesn't want taxpayer dollars to go to changing people's genders, which actually is pretty rational.
Well, but what about existing trans soldiers in the military? And the last time he was in there, he had a ban on people honorably serving the country who were transgender. That to me is too far. That is cruel. It's wrong, and it's and it's unpatriotic, frankly. So I think that a lot of times this conversation on the right goes overboard.
Okay, final word to Riley, because you've been heroic on this issue for so long. On that point that Tim made, I mean, where is the line? I mean, do you feel uncomfortable about Trump banning all transgenders from the military?
Where the line is personally, I'm speaking out of my own personal experience here. I don't care what people do in their free time. I don't care what people do behind closed doors. It's none of my business. I don't want anyone telling me what I do behind closed doors, quite frankly, okay? Where the line is when you start to infringe on people's children, number one, and when you start to infringe on our rights as women. I can speak personally again to how I was violated in a locker room where a 6'4" man takes off his pants, fully unclothed, exposing his penis inches away from me. I'm a married woman. You think my husband like that? You think I like that as a devout Christian? Which I want to make the point. I know Ali said it. Trump and Vance came off as callous and anti-Christian. It goes back to the first book, Genesis 1. He made them male and female intentionally and uniquely in his perfect image. So I think there was one person or maybe a group of people who were anti-Christian in that room, but it certainly was not Trump and Vance and the standpoint of that issue in particular. So I think that's where the line is. Don't infringe on kids and don't infringe on my rights as a taxpaying American.
Okay, got to leave it there. Great panel.
So you're against the military ban. Great.
Well,
another agreement, Pierce.
We don't allow people with bipolar disorder or other mental disorders into the military. I think it's worth considering.
So you don't agree. Never mind.
Yeah. I think it should be, it matters who is on our front lines, who is protecting people. I believe in a strong military. That's what I believe in.
Okay, we're going to leave it there. Thank you all, panel, very much indeed. I appreciate it. I'm sure we'll be talking again soon. This is going to be a roller coaster ride next 4 years, but thank you very much. More reaction now to that sermon by Bishop Buddy. I'm joined by Reverend Franklin Graham, President of Samaritan's Purse, who gave an impassioned address to the inauguration ceremony on Monday. Frankly, great to have you back on Uncensored. How are you?
His opinions on this.
I'm doing fine, Piers. Thank you for having me.
An amazing moment for you to be center stage there at the inauguration. What was that like for you?